Today is July 26th, 2013 at 10:30 a.m. and we're sitting with Mr. Dean Visintainer.
Okay. Yeah, so to start, if you don't mind talking about your family's homestead, we could start there.
Well, my grandparents on my mother's side, Joseph, Rust, R-E-U-S-T, in Switzerland, where they came from. In German, it's Reuss.
Okay.
If you ever, it depends what part of the country you're from and who, particularly homesteaded north of Mayville.
Okay.
And he came out in spring or summer of 1912, as near as I can ascertain, and looked and decided, and the reason he came from Kansas, and he read in the papers that the Denver Post in particular and Horace Greeley advertised this part of the world as the garden spot. They called it Great Divide. And the garden spot of the world. And so they came out and they came to look during the wettest years at this area is seen. And so they felt that it was a place to come. And had they known that it was like all the rest of the West, up and down, they probably would have stayed in Kansas, or they were.
Right.
But they came out and they homestead north of Mayville.
Okay.
And when he came 3 or 4 years and looked, and then when they came, the railroad was in Craig. And they shipped everything on the rail to Craig, and then they went by wagon, team and wagon, north down towards Mayville. Well, there was a trail down through the country that people traveled through it.
Right.
And they went to the place they picked out, and he had to go to Glenwood to file the papers. Glenwood was the place that they did the filing then, and later it changed, and there was a person here in Craig that could sign the papers and do the work, but to start with, it was in Glenwood. They had to go to Glenwood Springs.
All the way south?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
In those days, there weren't stages, and most of the travel was done horseback. However, he rode the train when he first came out. He rode the train with Steamboat. He got a horse, and I presume they rented some livery stable.
Okay.
And went out and looked at the country, and there was a person here in town that showed or guided, like a real estate agent. Only they had a different name. I can't remember what they called them, but they had a different name for the people that went out. But anyhow, he ended up taking a homestead 8 miles north of Mayville.
Okay.
We still have it.
You still have that homestead?
And yeah, it's part of the ranch property. And his wife's name was Jeannie.
His wife's name was Jeannie?
Her name was Jeannie Crabb. She was Scottish. She was born in Dundee, Scotland. He was born in Illinois.
What was his name one more time?
Joseph.
Joseph, okay.
Joe.
Okay.
And on my dad's side, my dad came to this country from what was Austria's South Tyrol in Italy today.
Okay.
He came to Rock Springs to be a coal miner. He and 4 other young boys.
Okay.
And he started 2 or 3 homesteads. He started one down in Browns Park in the Utah side, below Swallow Canyon, and flooded out. And today, the guy said, "Well, gee whiz, it floods every year." But back then, nobody knew. They hadn't been around long enough to know that it flooded every year. And since they built the dam, it doesn't flood. But anyhow, he started there, and then he ended up going to out south of Maybelle, started one, and disagreed with some people around, and ended up leaving and wound up north of Craig on Little Buck. Had a homestead up there in 1922.
Okay.
And my mother took what they call a desert claim down on the Little Snake River. My dad was in the sheep business and needed a place in the winter, basically. Needed a place in the winter to headquarter out of, and so they took it. He couldn't, because he already had a homestead, couldn't file on one. She filed on a desert claim, and a desert claim you have to irrigate, or I can't remember whether it was 10% or 20% of the ground in order to get it.
Okay.
And that was the start of the ranch that we have today. Between the 2 of them, that was or 3 of them, that was the start of the ranch. And I'm a little at a loss of words that people don't seem to understand that this is a dry, and plants are no different than animals. They need periods of rest. They need to be allowed to grow. And people tend to overuse them and kill them out, and we're killing out all the plants that evolved over long periods of time. And it affects all the things in the area, in my mind. The plants, one for instance, the sage chicken. The chicks need at least 25% protein the first 3 or 4 weeks of their life. And chickens don't have a gizzard, so they can't use grain. They use bugs. And the plants that developed the bugs were developed over eons of time. And you have the bugs which the chicks eat and survive through this period so they can turn into forbs to get their nutrition, but they require high nutrition to start with. And we're killing out all the plants, overusing utilization of the plants.
Right.
And as a result, there's less and less places everybody worries about the sagebrush, and they use a lot of sagebrush in the winter, but if you don't get the chick past the first 3 or 4 weeks of life, you need to worry about the winter time and the need for nutrition. And I see they're planting other species of plants trying to make up, but Mother Nature moves at a slower pace. There's a force in my mind greater than man that makes the things turn out there. I can't explain it. I don't know it, but I know that things change and subtly change every year. I spent 84 years on the same land, and you see subtle little changes take place one day to the next, or even 1 week to the next. And I'm convinced that in my own mind that these plants need time to rest or grow And I think we have too much wildlife, too much domestic livestock, and too much for what the country is capable of carrying. People want more, but the land has only got so much capability. And you see on real wet years, not all the plants that seed, and yet on the dry years, some plants that seed. There'll be spots that there'll be seed, that seed, and why? I don't know the answer, and I haven't found anybody that can give me the answer, but there's a reason. There's got to be a reason why the plants don't set seed on the good years, and the reason why some of them set seed on the years with little moisture.
Right.
Not all the plants, but there's pockets and places that do set seed. So it's to me interesting thing to watch what takes place out on the land. And this year were winners of the San County Foundation Award for Colorado, and I'm especially proud of that. I've had several awards through the years from the BLM, from the CSU, or Colorado, it was Colorado A&M when I went, and from Society of Range Management. But I think this San County Foundation Award is probably the most prestigious thing that's happened in my life. And if I can get people to understand that the land only has so much capabilities, we unless we put a sprinkler system on all of it, we'll never be able to make it reach the point that a lot of people would like to see it.
Right.
This is cold, high desert shrub country, and we're losing all the plants that survive in that climate over time, and we need to take a step back and try to make things as productive as we can to take care of society, but by the same token, we've got to take care of the land.
Right. Now, this structure, if you will, that you've kind of put over your ranch and the way that you've done things, was that something that was implemented by your father, or was that something that you decided to change?
Well, it started with my father. It's something that, and I hope that I have a son and a grandson on the ranch today, and I hope they carry the same philosophy.
Okay.
But I'm sure they do after being preached to all the time. But care of the land is thing that makes it all turn for everybody. If we produce what we can, what the land will give us, we'll all survive. But if we try to overdo it, well, none of us survive.
Okay.
In my mind, the population grows and the ability to produce food on some of this ground is limited, and it's going to limit, even though the technology improves and they are able to do things. In my mind, there won't be an ability to produce the amount of food that's necessary. The land changes, and I think things change. This is one time in the Bible to know, and so I think that things change, and we could go back and be underwater. Whether we will or not, I don't know, but it won't be in my lifetime, but I think that things change out there over time. Nothing stays the same. Nothing, even though you listen to some of these people talk, it's going to be the same from now on. It's not the same. It continually changes. There's subtle changes that take place all the time.
So, growing up on the ranch, then, with this mindset, when you were young, you said your father kind of started this. What was that like?
Well, it was interesting. I lived a lifestyle that today they probably have my parents in jail. So I got to spend a lot of time out in the hills with the guys, and did a lot of fishing. In the summertime, we'd be up in the mountains, and it'd be a lot of fishing. And in the winter, there wasn't fishing, but you got to go over the land, and you got to watch. And there was some of the old fellows that worked for us that weren't well educated, but they were well educated in what took place out there, and they could tell you whether the sheep or the cows or the horses would stay in a certain spot or leave. And all animals like different spots. They all like the same spot, but they don't like all the land in the same interest. And it was interesting to see the guys knew it, but they didn't have the education. They couldn't tell you the why, but college education didn't tell me the why either. That they like and dislike certain things, and you look and you run tests on the plant material, and it tests the same, but one hill to the next one hill they like and one hill they don't.
Right.
And why? And being able to go with these guys and have them show you and watch. They observed, they watched what went on. And people today do what I call windshield appraisals. They go 60 miles an hour down the road and determine what's there, and they don't take time to look and see what's going on, what things they're doing.
Right.
And I learned as a kid that first time my cousin and I got to go hunting, deer hunting, we went down and one of the guys, we had to go by one of the camps and leave some stuff for a guy. He asked us what we were doing. We told him. He said, "Will you go to such and such a place?" And I knew the horses liked it there. They always was in that area.
Mm-hmm.
And if you'd lose them, that's where you go. You find them. And you really didn't lose them, but to find them, you'd go there.
Mm-hmm.
But he told us there'd be deer there. Sure enough, that's where we went, and there was deer there. And you get to watch them. And most animals like the same piece of country, and over the hill might be a little bit different. There's some difference, but they don't. They all tend to migrate to certain spots.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ever notice in a pasture, they'll pick places, and one place will be picked clean, and another place it'll be knee high. And why? My question always comes back is why do they pick this over that?
Mm-hmm.
And so through life I've sent a lot of material to CSU to be analyzed.
Mm-hmm.
And you come back and chemically they're the same. They
Right.
come out the same. But there's something that animals can detect that we can't.
Mm-hmm.
And they pick this spot over that spot.
Mm-hmm. So you saw a lot of that when you were young.
I saw a lot of it. You know, I was able to stay out. My mother would be mad, but the guys that tell me that my dad let me go with him, I was fortunate. I was the only son, and got to go. And the guys that tell me if you go down and hide in the bush, well, your dad will never see you. And you'll get tired of waiting and go on, and you can stay with me for a day or two or three. And my mother, she'd get mad. That's sort of no end.
Yeah.
Out there, and no change of clothes and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoyed it. And they, I thought, still do think that I lived in the best of times. Being able to go and do. Today, you can't, kids can't work out on the farms like, and that really wasn't work. When I was younger, until I got to be about 16, most of it was just going with them and learning from them what they saw and did.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it was a learning experience. As I say, my mother was upset going.
Mm-hmm. What was school like during all of this?
It was good. I was always fairly good in school, and so it wasn't a problem. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed reading. And in the summers when I go out in the hills with the guys, I'd always take a few books with me.
Mm-hmm.
And you could sit and read books in the daylight. You couldn't at night. But I was able to read. And schooling, I enjoyed it because I was curious. And you read books that fills in the blank places.
Mm-hmm. Did you go to school here in Craig?
I went to school in Craig.
Okay.
When I started to school, we lived prior to that we lived down on Snake River, which was a long ways off, and in the summer we lived up north of Craig on the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And to go to school, my folks decided it was better we lived in town where there's a school and you could participate in other things. And which was, I guess, part of your education is being able to meet people and go see how other people do things. And I was fortunate my dad traveled a lot with gathered, and you get to meet a lot of other people and learn from them things about life that they saw in life, which was different than the way you was brought up.
Right.
And I was fortunate enough that my dad had friends in Denver. Usually I'd spend a week or two in Denver in the city with other kids and youth. It's absolutely a different lifestyle than being out in the country.
Right.
But it was good for me because you met a lot of kids, and through time people that you met then, it's surprising how through life you meet them in different roles.
Right.
They change, and the kids from college that you're friends with change. It's amazing how you get to see another side of life that you don't see out here. And yet, I have a brother-in-law, that's my wife's younger sister's husband, lives in New York. And they live in White Plains, and he worked down by he worked for the Urban Trust, which was next door to the stock exchange. And first time we met, I took him out in the hills, and we were out, and he said, "This is not Colorado." I said, "What makes you think it's not Colorado?" Well, he said, "There's no trees." And at the time, I never thought much about it, but after going back and visiting back there with them, there's lots of trees back there. But all the advertising you see is Rocky Mountain National Park, Aspen, Vail. You don't see all the Colorado advertising. You see specific parts of it. But he said, "How do you stand the quiet?" And I couldn't understand that because there's noise out there. There's birds that singing, and wind blowing through the trees. There's noise, but not the kind of noise you go back there and it's sirens and road traffic and noise. There's a different noise, and it's amazing how people think that it's quiet out there, it's solitude, but really it isn't. There's a lot goes on. And I meant to bring him, I forgot to do it. But I've got in the late 60s, I had to give a speech at the University of Wyoming. And one of the professors from CSU was named Wayne Cook, Dr. Cook, and he said you need, and today you'd probably call it a mission statement, but I've got a thing that he helped me. We talked about it a long time, then I went home and wrote down some of the things, and it's a thing that I followed all my life, or from then on. It was basically what you think and how you do it. And I think today most places would call it a mission statement, but I didn't call it that. I got other names.
Like a credo.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it had the bottom 4 things was goals you set out to do. And I'll try to remember. Are you going to be here the rest of the day? This afternoon when I come to town, I'll try to remember to bring a copy of it.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to look at that.
But then I meant to bring it, but it gives you some idea how you want to go through life or what you want to get out of life.
Right.
And it isn't all money, even though we've developed a big ranch.
Right.
Thank you. We developed a big ranch, or put together a big ranch, it's still not all about money. It's about the things that are out there.
Right, right.
To leave behind something that people remember you for, and not
Right.
that you was the wealthiest man in the town or something like that. To me, it's more important
To leave your legacy.
yeah.
Okay. And you've done a lot of work for the community outside of ranching and teaching this idea of the usability of the land. You were a county commissioner for a while, right?
Right, I was county commissioner 2 terms.
2 terms.
Yes.
And you were the county commissioner when the museum was commissioned, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What was that process like?
Well, this was an armory for the National Guard,
Mm-hmm.
and the state decided that they, well, it was an old building. Times change. It's no different than the Army changed in the 20s and 30s, 1920s, 1930s, from horse to mechanics. And the result, we got a lot of horses. People call them feral, call them wild. But there came a time when the Army quit buying these ranches. That was their business. And they just, there's no place to sell them and no place to go with them, so they turned them loose. And the armory here is no different than they changed more sophisticated equipment and things, so they moved to a larger facility, moved people where they could do these other things, the change that takes place, or that took place. And this was a being surplus, and there were 2 or 3 people in town, friends, that thought this would be make a good museum, and so we proceeded a little twisting of arms to get some of the other guys to agree to it. But not everybody agrees to preserve history. And I think the museum is someplace, I think there's 2 places in town that a lot of people that come back that lived in the area before come back to, and that's the museum and the cemetery. I think people have a affinity to go to those places, try to look up their past or their family's past.
So was that the original goal of putting the museum in then?
Well, that was my goal.
Okay.
Kind of pressed my ideas and pushed ahead. And other people helped. There was a lot of good people. I wasn't the sole person that did it. There's lots of people there were several people in the community that pushed for it.
Right. And what year were you finally able to turn it into a museum?
I can't remember. It's on the door.
Okay.
I think. Or there's a plaque here someplace.
That's right around the corner.
Yeah. And I think it's good for the community. I think it preserves the people in the past. It's the door open. They have gathered information and forgiven lots of things from the past. Makes it work.
Right. What other types of projects or decisions did you work with when you were county commissioner?
Well, the one that disappointed me the most was trying to get something built out at Loudon Simpson similar to what in Vernal or Farmington or Rock Springs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a building that can, multi-purpose building that can hold conventions or hold different sporting things. The one in Vernal, I've been there when they had an Indian rodeo in the afternoon, and was able to, in 1 hour, change the air in the building, and they hosted a 1,000 people to attorneys, Utah State Attorneys meeting and banquet that night. And those kind of things, I think, help the community, that generate revenue into the community, and that's what keeps the community growing.
Right.
And I was disappointed that we was never able to get that. So only get one thing that really, while I was commissioner, that we got through was the VNA building of the old hospital.
Okay.
And I thought that was a great accomplishment. But some people don't disagree with me there, but I think it's good for the community, in that it provides a service to a lot of people that otherwise wouldn't have the help.
Okay. So how have you seen the community of Craig change over the years? What was it like, first off, when you were younger, when you were in school?
Well, I went to school. We lived out where across the road from the Ford Garage. There's a house that there's a gal that's a chiropractor. She lives in where I grew up in that house. And I went to school up here on Yap Avenue. We walked every day. There was no such thing as school buses.
Right.
And all the kids walked, and nobody give it a second thought. Everybody walked, no matter how cold. There was no such thing as snow days. And I went to high school in a building that is long gone. Breeze Park up here. There was a school building there, and that's where I went to high school and graduated.
How many people were in your graduating class?
Well, we had a fairly large one because there were 15 or 18 fellows that had gone into the service and come back, and were in our graduating class.
Okay.
They didn't necessarily go to school with us, but the way things worked out for them, they could graduate and get a diploma.
Okay. What year was that about?
1947.
Oh, so right after World War II.
Yeah.
What did you decide to do after high school?
Well, I went to college.
And that's when you went to
CSU. Now it was A&M.
A&M. Okay.
And that was because my folks were convinced that we all needed a good education.
Okay. What was your major?
Science.
Okay.
I don't know what they call it today, but I enjoyed botany and I took a lot of botany
Right.
or botanical classes.
Mm-hmm.
And always had a curiosity of plants and why, and more so than the animals. But my dad thought I should know about animals.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, it's good to know that the fellows that worked for my father taught me more about them than all the schooling I had.
Okay.
But schooling taught me a lot about plants. In this day and age, you need to know which plants are native to the area and what they do and life cycle. They all have a life cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that probably was the biggest thing. And the friendships that you make, the people you meet through life. It's strange how through life you go back to those people, or you meet them in other avenues. One of my classmates worked for an insurance company, big insurance company, but he was real estate, well, ranch real estate, was in that division. You know, it's amazing how through life you go to meetings and go to places and you meet these people that you knew. And I'm convinced that sometimes knowing somebody is more important than how smart you are. That they lead you down the road to things that happen.
Right. And in all of that, after coming back from school, how had the area changed?
Well, one of the biggest things that I saw prior to leaving, while I was still in school, there was a refinery here,
Mm-hmm.
and they moved it to Casper, and a lot of the people in the process moved. So it made agriculture a basic thing, but things change over time. Nothing stays the same. And oil or mineral resources have taken over from agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a different perspective on how people in town, what they feel and what they need and what they want. And as I see it, people get further removed from the land and lose all the respect they have for the land. You go down the road and you see people tossing cans and paper and everything out the window. There's not, even though they profess more, there's less, in my mind, less care of the land.
Right.
You know, I see people drive across the place because they want to look in that over there, and they'll drive across rather than walk.
Mm-hmm.
And they have little respect for the plant community or the plants that are there. And they kill out a lot of plants and walk on plants. I've seen places, I know one place here in the county that the BLM marked off critical habitat for certain plants. And people walk across it and have no respect for they're killing the plants. And Well, you drive down the roads and you see tires and all kinds of household items thrown in the washes along the roads. Just a different lifestyle.
Especially after the power plant came in?
No, it started before that.
Oh, it started before that.
And it's just a gradual change. It's not that I don't think people mean well. I think they mean well. They just don't have an understanding.
Right.
I think in the wetter climates, some of those things would be immaterial, but in a dry climate, I think it's material.
Right. How has the political mindset of the community, especially about the environment, changed over the years?
Basically, I don't see a big change.
Oh, okay.
Well, the people I associate with, most of them have a respect for the land. And others see it as a restriction on the land. When they go out on their day off, or days off, or at least that's the way I see it.
What do you think about the state of hunting and fishing and recreation for that
Well, I think
today?
Probably recreation's become a biggest thing for the land, that own land today. But I think it'll change over time. Things change. I can't explain it, but things change, and I think you need to be one step ahead. You need to be thinking about what you can do tomorrow to make a living, to hold the land together.
So if recreation's really one of the biggest things for the land right now, what do you think would happen then?
Well, I think that what I see happening is that a lot of the wildlife eat themselves out of house and home.
Okay.
You know, if the plants aren't there, if they don't have the plants to meet their nutritional needs, what they're going to do? In my eyes. I see it as, especially these dry periods of time, that they're not able to survive if they starve to death. And to me, that's a cruel way for things to happen.
Right.
My question is, what's been your greatest challenge in trying to uphold this philosophy that your father passed down to you?
Economics.
Economics.
You know, the ability to make a living. It's very difficult as long as the country has a cheap food policy, it's difficult to meet the expenses. And to me, it's economics.
What have you done to kind of battle against that?
not a whole lot, try to figure out other uses of the land like hunting.
Okay.
And you need today to be thinking about something for tomorrow. And I haven't figured out what that is. But you need to, people still eat and want and need the food, but you need to figure out something that will put it together, and then having a family that isn't demanding, having a wife that's content with a little bit less than college classmates, family.
What was it like raising a family here?
Great. We was fortunate enough that when we were young, we couldn't afford to travel. We could go camping. And we developed a closeness of family ties. When the kids got older, we were able to travel and take them to places and see things. But there's a lot in Moffat County to see. And a lot of people drive from Craig to Vernal and never see the Yampa Canyon. To me, there's a lot of things around. You don't have to travel the world to see some of these things. There are things that in the area.
Okay. So there's a lot to offer. There's a lot to do.
Well, I think there's a lot. It depends what your mindset is. I think there's lots of things in this world that are not necessarily going to like the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. or Disney World. We've been there and taken the kid. I think there's a lot of other things out in the hills that a lot of people miss. Or at least in my mind, I see things.
Right.
It's different. Things are different. There's a lot of different things in a lot of different places.
So, realizing that there are a lot of things that people do miss,
Well, we live a fast life, and they don't take time to stop and smell the roses, so to speak.
Right.
But there's a lot of pretty country, and yet I've know people that think they've got to go to someplace else in the world to see things, and yet they've never seen the Yampa Canyon or Lagoa Canyon or Marshall Pass. I don't know if you have any idea where Marshall Pass is. But Marshall Pass is down in the central part of the state. That they built a railroad there, and if you see the work that those people did building places to build the railroad and tunnel through the mountain, and it's totally amazing. Or you go out in the hills, you go up between Steamboat and Saratoga, and you go through all those hills. There's a lot of hot springs.
Mhm.
People have no idea that they're even there. And to me, some of those things are just as important out of life as seeing the Guggenheim Museum.
Mhm.
You know, it's nice to see those things and see what other people, but by the same token, it's nice to see some of these other things.
Right. How do you, realizing that, how do you feel about Craig today and people and the progress that you've seen in the community?
Well, I think it's a great place to be.
Mhm.
I wouldn't be here if I didn't. I think that we have a lot of things, and we're fortunate that we have places like this museum. I think history tells us a lot.
And then kind of just to close, do you have any closing remarks that you'd like to?
No, I think that's pretty well
Okay.
covered everything.
Thank you.
Yes.
You're welcome. I hope I didn't bore you.
No, not at all.
that's-
That was